Yeah, boy, it's April 5th, and it's episode 103, and this is a Fantasy Football Auctioneer. I'm your host, Uncle Buckets. The Fantasy Football Auctioneer is the official podcast of the fantasyfootballauction.com, the internet's only website dedicated to fantasy football auctions. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fantasy football auctioneer, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Fantasy Auction. We got a great show for you tonight. Tonight is going to be our first of many off-season shows. Tonight we're going to discuss all the signings, the re-signings, and the trades, and their fantasy implications for your 2015 auction. But of course, our experts, they're always here. He's wheeling and dealing trades for the second greatest night in fantasy sports, a night that I'm going to miss, and I really will miss, Blister. You better defend our title, Blister. We are the champs. How's it going? You making any moves?
We have made 0 moves so far. Time.
0 moves?
I don't
make
like house calls like some franchises. Huh? Well, we got it Wednesday. I have a lot other quicker, so yeah, I don't know. Most of the action happens the night of, it seems like now. There's the young gunners like Slim that get out and they hit the pavement hard and they make a lot of deals, but no one ever wants to deal with us anyways, so we got to wait till they're half in the tank.
Then you'll get them.
Then we'll fleece them.
Yeah, there you go. All right. And he's hitting the gym as he could be called upon to play middle linebacker for the 49ers this season. Slim, sorry I didn't change the intro. How's the bench looking with the Niners?
Pretty thin. Thinner than me, that's for sure. So I better stick to the gym if I got any hopes.
No side profile back lean?
No, I'm going to keep her just front, chin out, so I can hide the 3 of them and do the best I can here. It's getting harder and harder, though. Less hair up top, more fat down below. It's not good.
It's getting old. That's all right. We're getting back on the air. I'm pumped to be on the air, guys. We had a good night last night. We watched the Red Wings win in a shootout against the Wild. My son's a big Detroit fan, so he was pumped to see Jamie pull out a win. And so hopefully it's a little bit of a wave now. They can move their way and stay in the playoff hunt, Blister. He's like
pretty tight right now. They're in the East with Detroit, Pittsburgh, Ottawa, and Boston. Obviously, I'm high expectations should they make it in anyways. But I do want Ottawa to make it in, another Canadian team. I just don't want them to take Boston out. But right now, I think Pittsburgh is a team that seems to be on a downward spiral as well. So, any one of those teams can't make it. But I guess it's really going to come right down to the wire this year again.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. It's fun to watch. But let's get into some football, guys. If you guys are ready, then I'm ready. Let's cock the hammer. It's time for action. So like I said, we've got a great show for you tonight. We're going to break down all the major moves. Well, some of the major moves because there's been a lot. We'll have to save it for all of them as we move into positional podcasts. But we're going to take a look at some of the big moves that happened in the offseason here, guys. And, we're working on updating rankings and looking at some auction values right now. It's mostly ADP stuff that's out there right now because the mock auction pool is pretty thin, Slim?
Yeah, no, it's pretty thin. I mean, if you're going to be auction drafting right now, typically you're going to be doing dynasty stuff, so which is not a bad thing either. It definitely gets you in the evaluating players who's undervalued, overvalued, and things like that. So, but yeah, no, any mocking you can do now, or drafting even, go in a dynasty league, and at least it gets you preparing year round too. That's the one bonus of dynasties as well. You don't stop preparing, so which is never going to hurt you in a redraft.
Yeah, so we're going to pull data. We've got data from all over the place here. We've got Fantasy Football Calculator. We've got the MFL ADPs up right now. We got the Fantasy Pro consensus ranks, and we'll talk to the boys about where some of these moves move players within their ranks. So I guess the first one we've got on the list here, guys, and I mean a pretty big move that we saw here in the offseason was the Sam Bradford, Nick Foles trade. Slim, you pointed me towards our friends at Walter Football for the updating, and I did really like the way that they wrote it up here. The first part was the Duck Kubasaw, I thought was a pretty good comment that he had there. But then also too, I really enjoyed how at the end of his little write-up, he says, and I'll just pull it up here so I don't really screw it up, which I probably will anyways. He states his condolences for all the Philadelphia fans. He's gotten some frustrated text. He had a friend who said, was Chip Kelly playing Madden? And he replied, no, because the Madden computer would have rejected the trade. So I thought that was kind of Madden would have rejected the trade. That's pretty good. So Blister, why don't you talk to us a little bit about who you think wins that trade? Do you think the Eagles win with Bradford, or the Rams do taking Foles?
I think the Rams do. I mean, if Foles stays healthy, it's something Bradford never could do. You know, it's the Rams have a nice team. I mean, led by that strong defense in that sense. So if Foles can come in and you know, I don't think he has to be spectacular, but come in and have minimal mistakes, cut those down. I think that the Rams have the better deal, because I just can't see Bradford, you know, staying healthy. I mean, it's upbeat offense. It's pretty fast. It moves quick, but he could have to scramble a little bit. He could be opened up for hits, I think, at some time. And if he is, I mean, he's the Band-Aid. So I don't know how long they plan on running him for. So I just don't see Sam Bradford helping anybody. I mean, he hasn't helped anybody yet, as long as he's been in the league as far as fantasy goes. So I just, I don't know why you'd want him.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't even know if they're going to keep him, Slim. Do you think they think they keep him the way they wrote up that trade? Does that kind of lock him as a day one starter, or do you think they're still going to make a move on Mariota?
Well, there's lots of rumors that it sounded like Cleveland offered St. Louis, what is it? They have the 19th pick. They offered that pick to the Rams for Bradford before they made that trade with Philly. So there's rumors that now Philly can go to Cleveland and try and work something out and maybe get a second first and then be able to package up to get into, you know, maybe they make a trade with the Jets or somebody like that if Mariota starts to slip. Who knows? I mean, I wouldn't put it past Chip Kelly. He's shown that he will draft his guys, and if he hasn't drafted them, he was not scared to make a move to go and get them. I mean, you saw it with him trading LaShawn McCoy for a linebacker, which is a good trade, I think, for Philly. It still is, but it just shows that he's not scared to give up a talented player to get somebody who he thinks is a fit for his scheme. And I think everybody knows that Mariota is a fit for that scheme, just because, I mean, they ran the same thing at Oregon. So I wouldn't put it past him. He's definitely got balls of steel that he'll make that move. He doesn't care who it pisses off, or, you know, whatever. So maybe he's going to live by the sword and die by the sword. But yeah, definitely, I think there's a chance that Bradford does not stay on the start for the Eagles week 1, and we could see Mariota there.
We could see him there. Hey, Blister, I'm just taking a look at the MFL ADPs. I think, like we were talking off the air before we got on here, was that the MFLs are a good gauge of where guys are going, because it's, you know, it's fantasy degenerates that are playing right now, but it's actually for cash. So they're drafting, even though it's best ball. I mean, they're drafting for cash and for prizes rather than just kind of mocking on, you know, football calculator. But looking at the MFL ADP right now, Nick Foles is going off the board, Blister, at the as the 22nd quarterback coming off the board. What do you think about that at 22? He's actually one below Derek Carr and one above Alex Smith in those ADPs.
Well, I think that could be a bit of a steal. Nick Foles, look at last year. There's a lot of hype around Nick Foles in this offense in Philly, and he was doing fine before he got hurt. So I think getting him that late, I mean, talk about waiting on your late round quarterback. This guy could produce. I mean, St. Louis has some receivers that are quite talented. They can spread the ball around. I mean, Brian Quick was having a great year last year, and then he got hurt. But even Stedman Bailey, Tavon Austin, there's guys in there that, and who knows what they might add in the draft yet, but they've got some young talent there. So I think 22 is kind of a steal for Nick Foles. I think he can outproduce that draft position, no doubt. And I mean, that's looking at, if you're in an auction right now, you're paying $1 for him. That's a damn good buy.
Okay. So Slim, are you going to buy Nick Foles for $1 if you were auctioning right now, or are you just going to let him head over to the waivers and hope to scoop him that way? What would be a plan there, or would even something that you'd even be looking at as Nick Foles?
No, and definitely he's on the radar, especially if you're going late. You're streaming quarterbacks, and depends on the league. I mean, in a 2 QB league, all of a sudden his value is different. Right. But standard league, yeah, he's definitely one of the late streamers that I think you kick the tires on. I mean, Sam Bradford is one though too, and it's only because Bradford is going to an offense where you know that he's going to get more volume as far as plays ran than probably any quarterback in the NFL. So I still think Bradford is in that mix, but there's also a lot of good guys that are down there that, whether it's Carson Palmer or even Joe Flacco this year with Trestman coming there. There's going to be a handful of guys in that tier right now that I wouldn't feel terrible about taking a flyer on for $1, like Blister said, in an auction draft, especially if it was backing up somebody who if I drafted Phillip Rivers for my first quarterback and spent $3 on him, then yeah, I don't mind taking Nick Foles for $1 after and streaming those two guys.
Okay, so Blister,
and you got to remember too. Oh,
sorry, go
ahead. No, I was just going to say, like with last year, Mark Sanchez, who, I mean, nobody liked him, but when he played for Philadelphia, he was fantasy relevant. He did a good job. I mean, he didn't do you wrong in your season long leagues, or especially in daily fantasy when he came in. He was so cheap and he put up quality points for you. So Mark Sanchez can do it. Sam Bradford can do it. Just for me, it's just a matter of staying healthy.
Okay, so Blister, I was going to play a little name game with. Well, let's play it with both of you actually. So, Blister, first, Foles or Bradford, who do you favor?
I guess I'll go with Bradford. I think more so. I think he's got more talent around him there, and that, like Slim said, with the offense running a lot of plays, he's going to be the guy that probably produces more.
Okay, Slim, what about you, Foles or Bradford?
Yeah, I'm going to go Bradford just for the volume.
Okay, Blister, let's stay with Bradford then. Let's see how high you go with them. Bradford or Derek Carr?
I'll stick with Bradford still.
Slim?
Agreed. It's Oakland until they get some receivers there. Tough to take Carr.
Amari Cooper. Blister.
Kevin White.
Yeah. Smart. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Save that for a different show.
Yeah. Blister. Bradford or Carson Palmer?
I'm going to still stay with Bradford. I mean, Carson's getting... he had a good year when he was playing. Again, I think Slim can rattle off some stats there, but both of those, I guess they're both equally susceptible to injury. You can't really predict those things, but you know what? Like we said, that offense is... it's a good offense, so we'll go stick with that. But Carson should, hopefully be in line. As long as Michael Floyd rebounds this year, then he could have some nice numbers too.
Yeah, I mean, Carson last year, just looking quick at last year's game profile, 22 points, 17 and a half, 18, 21, just under 21 at 20.7. And then that last one was a 10-pointer. But so, yeah, he was producing. What about you, Slim? Carson or Sammy?
I lean Carson. It's tight, but I lean Carson. Just like you said, I know that's Blister would kind of hinted at it. We were talking about this earlier in the week. If you take, Palmer's season last year before he got hurt, he was averaging around 20 points a game, not counting the game he got hurt in, which that's QB1 production right there. It's not Andrew Luck or anything, but if I'm spending $1 on a guy and I'm getting QB8 or QB7 yearly production, that's pretty good bang for your buck.
Okay, so just I guess if we're looking at that, you guys have Bradford hovering right around QB 20 according to the MFL ADP, because I don't think you guys are going to move him above Luck, Rodgers, Wilson, Drew Brees, Peyton, Cam, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Big Ben, Stafford, Tannehill, Romo, Phillip Rivers, Eli?
No.
Teddy?
Not for me.
Cap? Flacco?
You could beat out Teddy and Cap.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is kind of where I feel like we start getting into that conversation. I mean, okay. Eli, I look at, he's got Beckham. That's obviously a huge help for him. Yeah, and even if Cruz doesn't come back, it'd be 100%. They could very well do something else within a draft with a receiver, depending how they feel about Ruben Randall, who wasn't god-awful for them last year. But so I think that they're okay there, and I think Eli can have a decent fantasy season. So I have trouble putting him ahead of him, but then, like Blister said, it wouldn't be shocking if he beat out Kaepernick or Bridgewater, in fantasy points this year.
Okay, well, and just to put that in perspective, guys, Bridgewater right now in MFLs is QB 15, Eli's QB 14, Cap's 16. So that's kind of where they're landing right now.
Yeah.
So if we take a look at another major move, and again, it's Philly, like we were talking about, they're not afraid to do anything. Let's take a look at what they did at the running back position. I mean, my beloved DeMarco Murray is now over there, and then I think to everyone's kind of surprise, the number 2 with Ryan Matthews. Blister, talk to us a little bit about the running back situation over there in Philadelphia.
Well, they went out and grabbed up a couple of guys notorious for being banged up. But, I mean, DeMarco had a big year last year, huge year last year, and you got to be excited about this offense with him in. I mean, without him in it, with him in it, whoever the running back is, you think they're going to get a good opportunity here. And if they can both stay healthy, there's plenty of talent to go around there. Darren Sproles' role might be reduced even more. I mean, there's only so many balls to go around and hand off to or dump off to. But, I mean, I think I think provided they stay healthy, they could be very serviceable RB1 and RB2s for your fantasy team.
Very all right, serviceable. So Slim,
I mean, DeMarco.
What do you think?
Huge.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, do you think?
No.
Slim, I'm good. That DeMarco is. You think it's a better situation for him, a lesser situation for him being with Philadelphia?
Well, I find it hard to say better, only because he's leaving the best offensive line in football. Could it be as good? Yeah, it could be. I have a hard time seeing him doing what he did last year. Like, to me, if you're in a dynasty league, maybe you've already missed the boat, but the time to sell was during the playoffs and stuff. Yeah. During last season, because there was nowhere for him to go except down. He was doing everything that no one expected him to do as far as staying healthy and then putting up these monster numbers. And so, I mean, could he equal that? Sure, it's going to be tough. I can't see it. The chances of him equaling what he did last year to me seem slim, even though he's going to this more up-tempo offense. But it wasn't like Dallas's offense was a slouch either, though. So, yeah, I mean, the only thing I could see is maybe he catches a few more passes out of the backfield, but, I don't have it in front of me. I'll try to find it right now. He caught quite a few passes. He had 57 catches out of the backfield last year, which, for a running back, that's pretty damn good. So, it'll even be tough to beat that. So, Yeah, I think that what you saw last year, is pretty unsustainable. So to be expecting that, and you're seeing it, I think, with his draft position. Uh, he's still being taken as he's not in the top 5 for running backs being taken this year, which says something considering what we saw him do last year. People aren't buying it, so that could be a value for you come draft day. We'll have to wait and see. But.
Right now, according to the MFL 10s, he's RB5, being drafted in the first round, average pick of 10. Blister, do you still kind of see DeMarco sitting in that spot at around 10th pick overall, RB5?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's hard to imagine that he would be RB5 like after the year he's come off of. I mean, it'd be pretty hard to pass up on DeMarco or buy him in an auction if he wasn't, if he was only $35, $40, $45. I mean, last year were we looking? He was a kind of a bargain last year, I think, if I remember correctly too. But everyone had that injury question mark hanging over his head. I guess it's still there, but man, he produced well last year, and it's hard to believe he would be the 5th, or even on Fantasy Pros they got him ranked as the 8th running back, and that's behind Adrian Peterson, who knows where he's playing, if he's playing, what he's doing. So it seems like a little bit of a slap in the face to me.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, on Fantasy Football Calculator, he's the RB8. They got Adrian Peterson ahead of him. The guy's not even to me, that blows me away. I mean, I'm taking Murray over AP any day until we figure out where AP's going. But if you're drafting right now and you're taking AP over DeMarco, I don't know. That's tough to do.
Well, let's play that right now. Blister, I'll start low. I'll start high, and then we'll work our way down. So, Le'Veon or DeMarco?
Oh, I love Le'Veon.
Okay, well, we'll just go from the top and work right down and see where you guys are going to slot him in here. So, Slim, you're the same, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I put him as 5 or 6.
Okay.
I got Le'Veon, Jamal, Eddie Lacy, then Lynch, and now I'm torn right now between McCoy and Murray, and then Forte comes right behind him, and so. So
Blister, are you taking DeMarco or Matt Forte?
I'll probably stick with Forte.
Okay. How about DeMarco or LaShawn McCoy?
I'm going to go with DeMarco.
DeMarco or Lynch?
DeMarco.
Okay. I'm trying to see if there's any. Well, right now, MFL, it goes Le'Veon Bell, Jamal Charles, Eddie Lacy, Matt Forte, DeMarco Murray at 5. LaShawn at 6, Marshawn at 7, AP at 8, Arian Foster at 9, Jeremy Hill 10, CJ Anderson 11, and Lamar Miller at 12. Those are your RB1s, I guess.
Lamar
Miller at 12. Yeah. He's gone as high. Someone's picked him at pick 16, so it's in a 10, so it'd be the 204.
Wow.
So now I think the other question, well, obviously in this Blister is, what does this do for Ryan Matthews? Right now, according to MFL 10s, he's slotted in at RB32. What do you think?
I mean, it's hard to, he's got to be running behind DeMarco unless DeMarco gets hurt. And also then he's definitely a big injury concern. So it's a tough spot. It's almost one of those guys that you think, you'd like to run the price up in an auction, but just not want to get him. Hopefully somebody else gets him. Or, you'd be glad to see somebody else take him in a draft and not you, because it's just one of those things. If you got him, you'd be mad at yourself later on when he goes down or does nothing. And, I think it'd be easier to swallow the pill that if he goes to somebody else and he has a pretty solid year, then you're okay, probably more so than taking him and having him do his normal things. So I don't know, he's a tough guy to read right now. I think I'm avoiding him at this point.
So Slim, I'm just looking at the MFL stuff here. I think this might be an interesting question. Jay Ajayi has obviously no landing place right now, so we don't know what the situation's going to be. Who are you taking, Ryan Matthews, or are you taking Ajayi? if you had to draft right now?
Well, I mean, that's tough. I guess it depends on who else I have and all these other. I mean,
Well, who do
I
you
look
like
at
better?
Matthews. Well, I mean, if Ajayi goes to Dallas, obviously that's awesome. If he goes to San Francisco or Seattle or something, then maybe not so great. You know what I mean? Like, I guess, like Blister said, I don't trust Matthews to stay healthy. I would probably lean, oh God, Ajayi, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, to me, Matthews is a guy you take if you decide, all right, maybe you want to draft one stud running back and then you're gonna go cheap the rest of the way. So you take 4 Ryan Matthews. You know, you wait and you take him and Bishop Sankey, I don't know, Chris Ivory, guys like that, and you hope that you can stream them as an RB2. You know, obviously, if DeMarco Murray gets hurt, then all of a sudden his value goes way up and things are great. But yeah, to draft him as, you know, an RB2, then you're not setting yourself up for good shape. And you know, I think of this whole situation. I remember reading Twitter and that when this was going on, and you think, oh, Ryan Matthews goes in for this meeting in Philly, and holy man, that's huge if he gets signed there. And you just picture him in this meeting, and all of a sudden they get the contract out and they're put in front of him, and then all of a sudden they kind of pull it away. It's like, oh, hold on a second here.
We just got
we'll get back to this, and we run out of the room, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you know, just go back to your hotel and we'll get back to you. And you find out, hey, now DeMarco Murray's coming in, and he's probably sitting there like, what the hell's going on here? You kind of laugh and feel bad for the guy, but yeah, he's probably on cloud 9 1 minute and just can't believe what he's getting into here. What kind of crappy luck, but.
Well, hey,
yeah,
crappy luck. I mean, they're going to be in good shape to win that division as it's looking maybe right now, and the playoff run is that he's not too familiar with when he's in pads.
Well, that's it. In pads. Who knows? Yeah. We'll see. There's lots of things are going to happen, and whatever.
Hey, Blister, let's do some name game here with Ryan Matthews. I know he's late, but we'll go with someone that Slim just mentioned, Chris Ivory.
I'll take Chris Ivory.
Oh, okay. Not according to MFLs, you won't. How about Andre Williams?
I'll take Williams. I'll probably take everybody.
Everybody?
but Matthews.
Denard Robinson?
Maybe I'll take Matthews. Okay.
Run DMC?
Yeah, I'll gamble on him. At least he's a lead back.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, he's an injury concern too, but he's got that line, and if he can run behind that line for a while, then hey, what the heck?
Okay, how about you, Slim? Let's see, Frank Gore or Ryan Matthews?
Oh, I'm taking Gore all day.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
Doug Martin?
I'll take Doug. That one's close, so. But yeah, I'll go with him.
Okay.
Still got another. I think he's got another year to try and prove something.
All right. Well, right now, like I say, he's at Ryan Matthews at the 32. So if we look right around him, 28 is 29 Shane Vereen, 30 is Bishop Sankey, 33 is Rashad Jennings and Frank Gore, then Doug Martin, Andre Williams. So that's kind of in his ballpark. Do you think that's fair? It actually feels high to me.
Well, the thing too is you're looking at a best ball. I get why people. I mean, because if Murray goes out,
right,
and you get 4 stellar weeks from Ryan Matthews, you've made your money there, right?
Right.
And I would think that's the hope when you draft him in a format like that is that, you know, he's gonna. You hope to get a couple big weeks out of him. You know, you're banking on Murray not being healthy, probably all 16, and you know, even if Murray's playing, he might have a couple good games where he maybe scores 2 touchdowns one game, and there you go. You've he contributed for you that week and hopefully led you to a win.
Oh, this is, I was like, that can't be right. It shows he's playing for San Diego. These are the old ADPs. Oh, no, it's not. This is the right one.
No. They
No.
haven't updated the team.
What's that? You just haven't updated the team, right? Otherwise, it's all, yeah. Because I'm looking on Fantasy Football Calculator right now, right? That's where you're looking. And he's at 32 there. But, Blister, are you taking LeGarrette Blount over Ryan Matthews?
That's a tough call because that New England backfield's always such a mess. I've been offered LeGarrette Blount in the league, and I didn't take it because I just don't know what's going to happen there. And when I looked at his numbers from last year, they weren't that good either. So I might gamble with Matthews.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation for him. Hey, like, you're right though, Slim. If DeMarco gets hurt, then all of a sudden, bang, here we go, right? And I think he's a good fit for that offense too, right? Ryan, they both are, but Ryan Matthews, I think he could play fast like that, you know. Yeah, I think it'd be good to see him play fast like that.
Yeah, I mean, they'll spell him, and it's not like he's going to be out there running. You know, you saw LaShawn McCoy come off the field and get subbed out, and you know, it's so. I don't know. I think he'd be a good fit if he got the bulk of the touches. It's just that's never going to happen, and tough to bank on that.
And he's going to be far too expensive to use as a handcuff. There's no way you're buying both of them. Yeah, but are they both playable? Are they playable like Bradford? Gio and Jeremy Hill? Blister, what do you think? You think you could play both?
I think so. I think you could. And it might not be as expensive as, you know, as they would have been in other years.
It'll be super expensive. I got a feeling guys are going to be spending, and we can get into this in a different pod too, but guys are going to spend a lot of money on the stud running backs this year. That's my vibe I'm blaming the 2014 rookie draft class for it because to me it diluted the wide receivers. Yeah. And people are going to look at it and say, "Well, why do I need to spend a first-round pick if you're doing snake draft or even an auction? Why do I got to spend $50 or $60 on a wide receiver when there's 14 of them I like?" So I'm just going to go and buy a stud running back or two and then take my wide receiver 10 and 11, and I'll still have hopefully low-end wide receiver 1 production from both of them. That's what I think might happen, but who knows?
That's what I think too. I think that's that's probably what will happen. Go ahead, Bex.
Well, yeah. I was just gonna say we can move on to that. I think that's interesting, right? And we'll see as we start mocking and getting into things here what that's going to look like. But I agree with you guys too. I think that's what people are going to think. Well, there's 40 wide receivers that I could draft and have no problem. I could spend $20 on a receiver and still get great numbers because there isn't as much separation at that position, right? So I think you're going to start seeing this fall into like tight end type category, right? Where there's going to be maybe not as small of a top tier, but if you can get a workhorse back who's going to get 20 plus, 25 plus touches a game, those guys are going to be, falling into your Gronk and Graham type situations, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about Jimmy then. I know he's, we're talking about tight ends, but let's talk about Jimmy. So you guys, everybody knows the move. Blister, what do you think about the move, Jimmy Graham moving to Seattle?
Well, it's interesting. They typically don't throw the ball a ton, but does this demand more Jimmy, more balls thrown in his direction? You got to keep all your kids happy, basically, and you brought a guy over, you're paying him a pile of money. You didn't bring him over to block. That's not what he's there to catch touchdowns. So I think they might, they should have rushed the ball when they're on the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl. But I think now they got Jimmy there. Maybe it makes it more realistic that they should be throwing the ball once in a while there. But I don't know. It's interesting. Drew Brees and him had a pretty good connection. He's probably one of the higher guys in red zone targets in the league with Drew at the helm. I like Russell. I have a lot of respect for him and what he's done with that with his team. I'm confused a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I could have the same expectations. I can't see him getting the same number of fantasy points. I see a little bit of a drop. So, I mean, he's still very valuable. I still think he's going to be he could be your tight end number 2 at the end of the year behind Gronk. I guess time will tell. See how things unfold over summer, training camps and stuff like that. Some preseason if he gets into it, but although you can't read a lot into that. But
yeah.
I don't know. They brought him there. Excuse me. Paid him some good coin.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
That, he's going from Drew Brees. So that's tough. What do you think?
Don't let the guys from the ECL say that you respect Russell Wilson. Just so you know.
I know. I can't believe they took the 3rd pick.
They love Doug Baldwin, but they hate Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Too bad. I thought we'd get him back for sure with all the bad mouthing of him.
I did too.
I just couldn't wait to get him. And I'm pretty happy with Cam, though. I think Cam actually could be in line for a good year. I mean, by the end of last year, he was really back to his old Cam, but he came off an injury, then a car accident, and then he started getting comfortable again and running the ball, and that's what we need. So perennial top 5 quarterback. So we're okay with that. Anyways, we kind of got sidetracked, but yeah, Russell's got a nice weapon there.
Slim, what do you think about the Jimmy move? Does it? I mean, consensus-wise here, it sounds like it hurts his value.
I kind of disagree. I mean, I just think that it takes him out of that conversation of how we used to have, Gronk and Graham, or the consensus 1 and 1A. I just think it takes him out of that, and it just shows how fickle fantasy football is. I mean, you kind of have one down year where Graham was banged up, and he still caught 85 passes and had 10 touchdowns, which is great. But Gronk came on at the end of the year, and Graham kind of had that slouch or a slow little bit in the middle of the year where he was nicked up. And you know what? You look, it wasn't even that slow. I guess he still got 4 or 5 touchdowns in those 4 or 5 games that he was hurt. So, but I mean, it just shows how fickle we are. Last year the roles were reversed. Everyone was a little down on Gronk and thought, he's injury prone and this and look what happens. He comes back, and I just look at it like, are we going to see 2013 Jimmy Graham? Maybe not, where he had like 1,200 yards and 16 touchdowns, but that's record-setting pace. We can't expect that. Like, I don't see why he can't catch 80 passes for double-digit touchdowns and have close to 1,000 receiving yards, though. I still don't they don't have any receiving threats there. Russell Wilson's a pretty good quarterback, and the coaching staff isn't stupid. They're going to find ways to get him the ball. I mean, they don't make a commitment like this without thinking, you know what, here's our new toy. And they've shown this. Like, this is the thing with the Seattle franchise. They aren't scared to make a huge move like this to try and gain an edge on somebody. So, I mean, I can't see how he won't do what he did last year. I'm not saying he'll go back to 2013 form, but as a tight end, if I can get 800 receiving yards, 900 receiving yards, 80 catches, and 10 to 14 touchdowns, I'm taking that every week.
No, I got a question for you, sir. Well, I hope you're right. I agree with everything you said so far, but here's my worry is Drew Brees attempted 659 passes last year, and Russell Wilson 452. That's 207 less attempts. So if you attempt 207 less, do you think Russell's is going to go up? Is he going to go over 500 this year? Is he going to attempt a few more because he's got Jimmy Graham to throw to? I wonder about that.
Well, they attempted that many passes. He still had, that was the least amount of targets he's had in his career except for his rookie season. So in 2013 he had 142, 135, 149. Last year he had 125. So just because they threw it a bunch, I mean, I'm just looking at, could he catch 85 passes? Sure, I think so. And I think that Russell Wilson is capable of throwing the ball more. They had Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse as their wide receivers, and a bunch of pieces of garbage for tight end that I think Wilson, we've seen it when he has to, he can do this. They've just always said, hey, except for the last play of the Super Bowl, let's run the ball and this, So I think that we'll see Wilson, and this is why I like Wilson a lot this year too. We'll see him kind of take it the next step maybe in the passing game. I don't think they'll ever throw it 500 times, but I mean, if you got a guy like that, you'll force it to him, and especially in the red zone. To me, I don't see how they throw it to anybody else in the red zone. This is the man to do it. He's big, he's athletic, he's a mismatch no matter who's covering him. This is what this team needed in the red zone, I think. We saw in the Super Bowl. In the red zone, they're going to an ex-CFLer, Chris Matthews, just because he was big and tall. Well, now they got a guy who's big and tall and a good receiver. So, to me, I just think Russell Wilson, he's going to go green light on him anytime they're in the 20. I wouldn't be surprised if he catches, 15 touchdowns, 16 touchdowns this year. And maybe he doesn't have the yardage, he's not going to catch for 1,000, but I'll take those touchdowns, though.
So Russell threw 20 touchdown passes last year. Do you think he'll throw 30, 35 this year?
I think he goes over 30.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past him. Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be a huge uptick.
Where do you put where do you put Russell Wilson in your QB rankings then?
Well, obviously, you got Rodgers and Luck. But after that, then I really think Wilson, the case can be made. I dropped Drew Brees below him this year. So, yeah, I mean, it depends how you feel about Peyton Manning, but I honestly have no problem slotting him as my number 3 quarterback this year.
Okay, so what do you think in Blister as far as Russell Wilson's status?
I think he's a top 5 for sure. I was just going to see what I have so far for my own ranks. I know I have to update them, but of course I can't find them. My drive.
Okay, well, do you like him better than Peyton?
I do, yeah.
Do you like him better than Drew Brees?
Yeah, I don't think Drew's got a lot to throw to right now.
Yes, yeah.
So you probably have him slotted at 3 then, right now, because you're not going to put Tom Brady or Matt Ryan or Cam in front of him. So probably go with Luck or Rodgers, whoever you like there, and then Russell at 3. That's a big jump for him from where we've seen him.
It's a big jump. Yeah. So, and I think Cam could then slide into number 4. Because I think Cam's going to, he usually is a top 5. Last year, I think he could be back there again too.
Yeah. So what else? I'm just thinking, I mean, a guy like Jimmy Graham changes the entire offense, right? Like we just are talking right now that Russell Wilson is jumping 10 spots in his value in his rankings from last year at this time. So what about a guy does it affect Marshawn Lynch? Does it have a negative or positive effect on him because now they're not crowding the box? Does it change any of that receiving core at all? Does it make any of them more appealing or less appealing?
Well, I think less. I mean, I can't see, not that they were appealing to begin with, but if you go from, say the first option, even though it wasn't a great one, to the second option, then it has to, I think, hurt your value. I think it helps Lynch, but I don't think Lynch needed much help anyway. He was he's going to get touchdowns, and he's going to get touches. They're still going to run the ball. But yeah, I just think instead of a lot of these extra passes going to, the couple that went to the tight ends every game, and instead of Doug Baldwin catching 3 or 4 passes, maybe he catches 1. I just think Graham makes up. He's going to catch 7 balls a game and maybe a touchdown every week. Who knows? But yeah, no, I don't think it gives Marshawn any huge uptick. I just think the biggest beneficiary is obviously Russell Wilson, like we talked about.
Yeah, huge for him. If that, I mean, you guys both have him top 5, top 4, top 3. That's really big compared to where we've seen him in the past. So
yeah, like he's always been that 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th kind of guy. But I mean, you look at how many points, and even look at last year. The guy, he averaged, I think it was over 20 points a game. I'm going to try and find it here. That's great. I mean, for my fantasy QB, if you're getting me over 20 points, I'm taking that. Thank you very much. That's because I know I'm going to draft smart in other areas, and hopefully you're just, keeping me on pace with these guys that have Aaron Rodgers and things like that. And
the average just over 21.
So, yeah, I don't know where that falls in terms of.
He finished as a QB3 last year, according to my fantasy league. So,
okay,
it's pretty good. So, I mean, that's finishing. So he finishes the number 3 last year, and then picks up Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like I said, I don't see why his touchdown totals can't go up and help him out. Like, you look what Aaron Rodgers was number 2, and he was only a point and a half more a game, and Andrew Luck was 2.5 points more on average. So I don't see why he's not right with those guys, or just below them. And since he was pretty much just below them last year, like there was only 5 quarterbacks who averaged over 20 points a game last year, and he was one of them. And now he's getting an elite weapon.
Blister, I was going to ask you, do you think in a draft like right now, if we were auctioning right now, I think, my feeling is that Luck and Rodgers would be up in a tier by themselves, and Russell is going to sit in behind that. And if you can get top 3 finish out of him, do you think there's going to be like auction value there?
I think potentially, yeah. I think you'll see how many guys just don't even like him. We have our ECL league, and most of those guys don't care for him. And at the end of the day, like Slim said, I have him ranked 3rd. He finished 3rd. He was one of the few guys that averaged over 20 points a game. I mean, what more do you want from your fantasy quarterback? I think that he could be a nice value. I mean, all 3 of us would take him, so he might not come as cheap as in our leagues, but in most leagues or many leagues, I think he will, because people are still thinking about Tony Romo, even, and Brady and all these other guys. And in reality, Russell's young. He's got his legs that get him points. And Tony Romo actually attempted less passes than Russell Wilson last year, but he threw 14 more touchdowns or something like that. But he attempted less. But if Russell throws 14 more touchdowns next year, he'll be challenging for the number 1.
Yeah.
Well, and just since Graham's gone there, like I was gonna say, I think if you're drafting now, or as early as possible, you might get a deal. But you look at I'm looking at fantasy football calculator. His ADP went from about 506 in redrafts to he's up into like the mid 4th now. So he's jumped around in value in a month.
Yeah.
And the closer it gets to the season, I think, and especially once preseason probably starts, and we kind of see, especially if he starts throwing touchdowns to Jimmy in preseason, like the love will become real for Russell Wilson really fast, I think, as far as a lot of drafters go. And then his value might go bye-bye. But even if you can get him for $10 cheaper than Luck, that could very well be a value, right? If he's producing just below Luck and you're saving that, then why buy Andrew Luck, or why buy Aaron Rodgers? You can get him for $20. You're probably actually getting a value. I'm not saying that's something you want to look at. You might still want to go cheap, but I know a lot of guys don't subscribe to that theory or want to do, go super cheap. So that's probably a route that a lot of guys might be looking.
So, guys, I know that coming up in our next few rounds of podcasts here, we're going to break down positional stuff. So why don't we just take one from each position here for today to get us just revved up for potting again, and then this week as we get into the more positional stuff, that's the plan, right, Slim?
Sounds good.
Okay, so Blister, let's move to wide receivers, and one that I just have in mind because I think it's just very interesting is the Andre Johnson move to the Colts. What do you think about his value and ranking as he moves to having an actual quarterback throwing him the football?
It's pretty exciting. I mean, a lot of people probably would have really started shying away from Andre Johnson because he's not getting any younger, and his quarterback situation is such a question mark. But suddenly goes from that to a Colts offense that has T.Y. Hilton that can stretch the field. They got, they have a lot of weapons, but Andre Johnson is a veteran receiver. He'll run good routes. He'll be a good target in the end zone, and I can see him having a great year. Catching 80 balls probably minimum from Andrew Luck, probably more. I mean, he did that granted in Houston he was the top dog. There wasn't a lot of other weapons to throw to. I mean, Arian Foster was great out of the backfield, but not a lot of guys emerged. DeAndre Hopkins I expect to be really good there now, but really over his last 4 or 5 years there wasn't a really solid number 2 to contend with, so they give it to him. But even then, the defenses knew he was going to get the ball. He still did it, and that wasn't even from a good quarterback, and he still went out and got the catch. So I think it could be a really exciting year for Andre here. 85, 90, who knows how many catches, but he should get in the end zone a few times, and a guy you can target, and again, because of his age and past production and stuff like that, and I think people probably still are going to hesitate to spend the big dollars on him, but I think he'd be worth, if you spent $20-25 on him in an auction, I think it'd be money well spent.
And Slim, I can just imagine if you were a dynasty owner and if you've been in dynasty for a while and you're like, oh, Andre Johnson, what am I going to do with him? I'm going to try to sell him off. Oh, hold on a second. He's with the Colts?
Yeah. Well, if you're a contending team, for sure, that's a move that you probably loved. Well, even if you're a rebuilding team, now he's got value. You can probably get something decent for him now. But, yeah, I think this was a great spot for him. I don't know how many touchdowns we're going to see from him. The last few years, that number's kind of stayed relatively low. But to me, there's no reason why he can't catch 100 passes this year. I mean, he had 85 last year with nobody. So with Andrew Luck throwing on the ball, with T.Y. Hilton on the other side from him, I don't see why he can't do that. I mean, he's 33 years old, but Reggie Wayne, when he was 33, he caught 106 passes for 1,300 yards. So I don't see why Andre can't do something similar to that. Yeah, it's definitely a great spot for him. He probably couldn't have gone to a better one, really.
So, Blister, I'm just looking right now at MFL ADP, and I mean, Andre Johnson sitting at wide receiver 38. So that's out of your starting wide receiver core and like a high-end flex. What do you think of that as a draft position?
38. Wow, that's a steal. Last year he still had 85 grabs. He still had, he finished as a 28th ranked receiver last year. Missed the game, 85 catches, but the 3 touchdowns kind of brought his numbers down a bit. But 85 grabs still, almost, just over 900 yards with no quarterback. I mean, he's going to have a quarterback this year. I don't see how he doesn't get 1,000 yards again and get into the end zone, twice as much, maybe 8 times. So, yeah, if he did that last year, he's probably going to be 12th, maybe 11th, 12th ranked receiver, maybe better. So if he does that this year and he's down at 38, there's a steal, folks.
What was I going to say? So Slim, if you're looking down in that ballpark, it's like Kenny Stills. Who do you like better there?
Well, if you're taking him at 38, I can't explain that. The only thing I can think maybe is that in a best ball league, guys are looking for dudes with more upside.
Yeah.
They know it's a safe bet, so they think, okay, you know what? Because I wouldn't be taking him as my wide receiver 2. I would feel much better about getting him as my wide receiver 3. And that's only because they're so deep that I'm hoping I can get 2 guys better than him as well and use him as a wide receiver 3. To me, would be ideal. But yeah, I don't know. To me, I like him over Kenny Stills for sure.
which I actually thought was even pretty low for Kenny Stills, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously his ADP's jumped through the roof. I'm looking now at Football Calculator Blister. Andre Johnson or Golden Tate?
Well, I'll take Golden Tate. He had a pretty darn good year last year.
Andre Johnson or Jeremy Macklin?
Golden Tate was 12th last year. Jeremy Macklin, I will take Andre Johnson.
All right. Slim, how about Martavis Bryant or Andre Johnson?
I'll take Andre.
All right. How about Sammy Watkins?
I'm gonna go Andre.
Okay.
No, I'm not. Sorry, I'm changing. I'm going to Sammy. I think Sammy will have more TDs.
So, Blister,
Believe it or not.
what does Andre Johnson do for TY?
Well, I mean, if TY was going to get number one attention all year long, it would have been tougher on him. And now I think that they have to respect Andre as well, especially as the field tightens up. So I think TY is probably going to benefit from having another nice receiver opposite him. You know, TY outperformed. He outperformed what I expected of him last year. We always talked about he's good for the big play, and then he kind of disappears, and then he's one of those best ball dolls. He had a big explosive thing, but last year he was a lot more consistent. He was consistent. He had 1,300 yards, 7 TDs, and he finished as the 11th ranked receiver overall. I mean, there's your bottom end wide receiver 1, and I don't think you paid that much for him because of the fact you're scared off about his inconsistent games. Yeah, I know I was last year for sure.
Well, I mean, if you look at TY's numbers, and he did go up. I still think he was kind of inconsistent, though. If you really look, he caught, what did he have, an extra 250 yards? Well, it mostly came because he had a 223-yard game against Houston, and he still had 41, 65, 80 yards, 24. He had over half of his games were under 100 yards receiving, which surprised me now that I look at it. So
he had 3 games in the single digits.
I mean,
as far as fantasy points go.
But when he blew up, I mean, he did blow up. Like Blister said, he's a good best ball. We've always known that, right? He's probably best served for best ball. I think if you drafted him last year, you're probably really happy because he did have more, 15-point game plus games than he probably had before that. But, I mean, I don't expect it to help him that much more, really. But I mean, hey, if you can get him to, have 1,200 yards and 7 TDs, that's pretty good still too. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying avoid T.Y. Hilton. Just be wary that people might be overpaying for him, expecting him to keep going up and up and up, and I just don't know if that's the case. Because we still see that he does. It comes in bunches with him still, even though it's maybe not quite as bad as it used to be, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no. Blister, I was just going to ask you, did you hear that somewhere before, or should we put a copyright on that best ball doll? I've
never heard that before. No.
Okay, well, I'm quickly going into the copyright office, and we're gonna coin that. Let's see if we can maybe get that trending, or even as a hashtag. The best ball doll is pretty good. No, you don't think we can get it?
I like it. Wow, it's tough. I don't know, but I like it. Well, it
could be a lot of things, best ball doll.
Yeah.
I mean, you could take that a lot of different ways.
It could go a lot of ways. I mean, there's a lot of different Twitter followers.
When you say go a lot of ways, sorry. I haven't gone there yet in the pod. I had to get at least one of those. All right, guys. So we hit each of the big positions. I mean, we didn't talk about, was there any kicker changes that we needed to talk about? No. Koskowski's still there, Blister?
Yeah, maybe the extra point, if they take that away, that'll change some things. Slim and I were talking about that.
Not if you're playing on fantasy sports for you.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're following NFL's following fantasy
Well, they're trendsetters.
scoring system. That's crazy. Yeah, but if they do take that away, I mean, that's going to really taking away the extra points after a touchdown, and like some teams that have 60, 70 touchdowns, obviously you take those off, and the teams that only score 30 or 40 or whatever all year long, it really pulls all the kickers back to even tighter than ever before. You know, last year I think Gostkowski was under around 165 points. So if you take off 70 touchdowns, and then 20 guys below him might have been at 130 points, 120, and you take off their 30 touchdowns, well, everyone's going to be almost tied. So if that happens, it almost seems to me like, what the hell's the point of even having kickers in fantasy football?
I agree.
I think that's going to be the case.
I think that's what you'll see. A lot of leagues, you know, and I'll admit I haven't followed it close because really I couldn't give two shits. But I mean, from what I've kind of heard in passing, what's the option? They're going to move it back to like 25 yards or something, or else you can put the ball on the 1. I mean, I've always thought, you know what? Why the hell not go for it for 2 every time anyway? But just from a math perspective, but I mean, I don't know. I agree with you, Blister. I think what we'll see pretty soon is a lot of pools just scrapping kicker altogether. But,
now it might be coincidence, Slim. You are the commissioner of our Dynasty League. Who won the Dynasty League last year?
You know who, sitting across from you through the screen. You can high five him on the screen probably if you want to.
Now, the next thing, and it could just be coincidence, but maybe I'm seeing a trend here. Blister, did you know that you had the number 1 and number 2 kickers overall?
Yeah.
Gostkowski and Parkey, you have those. You have. I think maybe we're seeing a trend here in Dynasty. I mean, maybe Blister is.
I could. You know.
Any thoughts on that, Slim?
I almost drafted.
No, I'm attributing his win to more skill position players than maybe the likes of Antonio Brown and C.J. Anderson and such versus his kicker. But
you don't think the fact that he's
crazy.
Streaming the top 2 kickers that you would have never played Parkey. Let's be honest. You never played Parkey, did you?
I think I played him once. I picked him up when Gostkowski was on a bye, and I just kept him because why would you ever get rid of a good kicker?
You've been kicking yourself week 12. You had 20 points. Kicking yourself for too many kickers. No, you had the top 2 kickers. The only 2 that average over 10 points a game. See, you just got a thing for kickers. Right back from when we were in high school. You said kick it as far as you can. And you kicked it over the fence and won us the championship. I mean, it's
stuck with me ever since.
Maybe I need to bring you out to the soccer pitch with my soccer.
I remember I got that. Were you playing soccer in high school when I scored from just over half indirect free kick?
Big toe bomb, like we like to call it.
Big toe bomb from over half. Watch wrong, just booted it over, and I just stepped into her. Ask Mr. Kerr when he comes in supplies. He'll talk about it for long.
Oh, sorry, you guys aren't looking at the screen. I just did a little Mr. Kerr.
I gotcha.
I don't know if you are. I'm not looking at it. Anyways. Okay. So, guys, let's call that episode 103. We've got things rolling again. Little trade talk. Anyways, we didn't get too much in. Well, we didn't really mention free agent signings or any of those types of things, but a lot of good trade stuff there, and we're going to start moving forward and looking at positional breakdowns a little bit more as far as all these moves go, because there's a ton of moves. I don't know. I guess before we sign off, guys, I was also thinking that just a quick little mention. If now that we're back and you like us being back, don't be afraid to head on over to iTunes and give us a little rating, a little comment. That'd be awesome. Stitcher does the same thing too. Keep coming over to the website. I've revamped the website right from graphics all the way down to layout and the whole bit. So that's all there. Slim's been highlighting his mock NFL draft on there. And very soon, we're looking at the release of the, can I say first app? but we're looking at a fantasy football auction in draft app. So it's something that will help you live within your draft to work through your rankings and give you best available players, how much money you should be spending on a guy, those types of things that you're going to be able to use in your draft. So that's currently in the works. I'm talking to the developer just after the weekend here. Hopefully she's going to be all ready to go for June 1. We're looking at moving premium on the website rather than doing the draft kit that you'll have to purchase. We're looking at doing it as a premium subscription type site in that regard, so that guys can get their updates live right within the website format rather than doing it as a draft kit format. So those are some moves we're doing. So head on over to the website and check some of those things out, because we've been working fast and furious on the website, which is why the pods have been
non-existent.
Yeah, non-existent. Let's leave it at that. But we're back, baby, and we're looking to go. Are we looking to go again Tuesday, guys? You guys ready for that?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So that means that not only are we gonna have a new one posted Easter Monday here in Canada, but we'll also have one up Wednesday morning as well. So 2 this week for you fantasy football auction fans. Just because I want to. You guys have anything else to add? No, you don't. I love it.
No.
All right. We also are looking to have some guests coming on too. So we're working on that right now. Our agents are out there trying to book some talent to come on to the podcast. So we're hoping to kind of broaden your horizons too with some big name guys out there. So keep on the lookout for that during the off season. And no, Dave, I'm not talking to you. You're not a big name guy, but we might have you on.
Say, if we can't get any talent, we could always just call Dave. Just kidding, Dave. Go Caps, go. I just hope you're listening. Just want to get you back. Just it's that time of year. We're starting up again. Start off the right way.
Time of year. Oh, all right, guys. Well, Blister, I'll see you at 3-on-3 probably this week. Oh no, we just played you in 3-on-3, so
we'll still see you
we
there.
won't see you. How'd the little tourney go this weekend?
Oh,
Bring home some hardware?
Oh, are you kidding me? We had the bad news bears. I'll tell you more about it when we're off the air. But Maddie had a great weekend. Lots of compliments for her because she got pummeled in shots, but she made a ton of saves. I can't get over it. But yeah, I don't want to badmouth anybody else, but we were bad.
Okay, so you're badmouthing. Oh, that's
no.
And Slim,
the 6-year-olds that you were coaching. Pardon me?
Yeah, no.
So are you going to come visit us on the soccer pitch this week, athletic director?
Doubtful.
I'm sure I'm going to have to come in and visit the two of you when it comes to that anyways. So a couple of names out there. Anyways, and for the rest of you, I guess I'll see you when it's springtime in the Rockies.